Hi. Sometimes you are not happy with the quality of your fastq files. When you look, for instance, in a multi-QC report, you notice high percent of duplicates. It's not super high, but already critical enough. And this is the same in the form of the bar charts. I can show you also page in fastqc, the same file, number 1. 21%. Also it tells how many times some sequences are duplicated, and some of them are amplified a lot, really a lot. Those duplicates, when they're present in the high numbers, they distort your genomic profiles. If you look at your genomic data in IGV viewer, for instance, the shape of your peaks is smooth, is gradually going up and down. But in case of massive duplicates, you see sharp spikes. This is how they look like. I better show you a real snapshot from IGV. This is how it's supposed to be, smooth curvy peak with more or less randomly scattered individual reads, and this is the same but overwhelmed by duplicates. They repeating one another over and over again, and here, for instance, and nearly everywhere. And this is annoying. And of course there are some other random junky sequences, but it is another story. Back to duplicates. Can we remove or at least decrease the number of those? Removing duplicates in theory is a simple business. As you know, every fastq file is a series of individual reads, and you simply have to take one read in a time and check whether it is a new one or you've seen it before, and depending on that you either keep it or reject. That's basically the algorithm of cleaning duplicates. But nothing is simple when you deal with a collection of sequences from 30 to 100 million reads. That's the usual interval where you have attack-seq, chip-seq, and other genomic data. So you need a special programs which are sufficiently fast and memory efficient. I tried I tried actually more programs, but I found 3 programs which worked well. One of those is a seqkit. It's a collection of different tools, and one of those, rmdup, will remove your duplicates. It is written in Go language. It doesn't complain about memory. Installation is simple. In Linux you call sudo apt install. That's a very standard way. In macOS you call brew install seqkit. It works. All 3 programs operate via command line in your terminal, which is this one. You have to type the line seqkit rmdup -s file to filter, and then this symbol that you direct the output into the filtered fastq file. And the performance is a kind of a standard. There is nothing unusual, but also nothing special, and it is simple to handle, and it works. More aggressive tool is a bbmap clampify. Again, bbmap, it's a big collection of different tools, but we need only one, clampify. It is a bunch of shell scripts requiring Java. Installation is simply downloading tar gz file, unzip. I usually do it in my desktop somewhere near. And then in the terminal you give exact location where is this clampify located, for instance desktop bbmap clampify. Then syntax is different. You say input 1 is a file to filter, output through the space is filtered, dedupe is the command remove duplicates, then use a temp directory true, then you define what is a temp directory, okay, and then you have to provide sufficient memory. In my first attempt, when I used default settings, program failed and stopped, and it asked to increase XMX value, and then I set XMX on 15 gigabyte and it worked well. And indeed it removes more duplicates than this program. Timing is more or less the same. And the third program which worked in my hands is this one, fastp. Unlike the two previous programs which are parts of big collections, fastp is a single program dedicated to removing duplicates and other junk. It is written in C++. You install it in Linux through a sudo apt, but in my case the version was far too old, so I installed it through the conda command within Python. In macOS it is simple again. You call brew and brew install fastp and then it works. And then how you use it, you call in a command line fastp -d, so you have to make sure that this option D exists in your version of fastp. Then -e means what's the input file name, -o what's the output file name, and then it's done. Performance is fast indeed, much faster or not I cannot say. Then it also makes own report like fastqc, only be careful, the name of the report is always the same. You have to rename it every time you change the input file. And by default it removes also low complexity sequences, sequencing primers, bad quality sequences, and it's not totally removing it, but it chops these bad fragments out of your standard size sequences, and therefore you will end up with a variable sequence length. Whether it's good or bad for you, it's up to you to decide. I think it's fine. A few helpful notes at the end. You should be aware that the major source of the duplicates is a PCR step in your protocol when you prepare your sample for the sequencing, for instance in Illumina protocol. Make sure that you have enough DNA and do not try to compensate too low DNA levels with the extra PCR cycles. That's exactly the way to make duplicates. Formally speaking, duplicates are identical sequences. However, degree of identity can vary. In some programs, you can define yourself how many variations in single nucleotides are allowed to call sequences identical. And variations are coming from the PCR errors. And this is also another reason why you should not expect complete removal of duplicates. And duplicates are naturally occurring anyway, and if it is about 50%, it's very usual and you can probably live with it. You worry when the duplicates go above 60 or 70%, and then you probably have to apply these protocols. But again, do not expect a sharp fall of the percentage. You will lose about 20 to 40% depending on your initial numbers. That's more or less the story. And thank you until the next time.